Friends and enemies, welcome to yet another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. I'm Len, the legend, of course, and I'm going to be doing this one soloed without Joey. We haven't done an interview together for quite some time. I think we'll probably do one in the not too distant future, but today is not that. I'll be talking to Michael Degroot in just a few moments from now. We'll be talking about his affiliation with Luxor. I want to talk more about Bitcoin used as a currency, a peer-to-peer exchange, because if you look at what Bitcoin is, it's not just a store of value. One of the fundamentals, one of the characteristics of Bitcoin is you can exchange it for a good or a service. Some people exchange it for fiat currency. That's your choice, but a lot of different options you could do with Bitcoin. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. But before we talk to Mike and talk about the topics at hand, a couple of sponsors I got to mention. Number one, we have the first sponsor, EasyDNS, which has been with us for the longest period of time. Mark and his team have been absolutely wonderful. They've helped us here at the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast set up our own website, CanadianBitcoiners.com, shameless plug. What could you do with EasyDNS? Well, it's a number of different things. You could register a domain name. A lot of people are doing that. It seems to be it's in fashion these days to squat on domain names, and that's what you could do with one of the things with EasyDNS. So if you like something, you want to squat on it, just register with EasyDNS and check that out, and it's good to go. You could do web hosting or email hosting. You may already have that with an existing service, but what you can do, you can migrate it over to EasyDNS. Why would you do that? Because they have a superior platform. Or if you haven't yet started up a web hosting or email hosting, you could do that just by simply signing up and doing that with EasyDNS. These guys have been around for decades, and if you need some help, obviously, like we needed it, they provide you web management. Their experts are right there, and just at your fingertips, just ask, and they'll be able to give you a helping hand. Mark and his team are absolutely wonderful. Also, they have the virtual private servers you could do. So if you want to spin one up, they have a number of different flavors you could use. I saw Debian and Ubuntu was one of the two options, and I've used both of those two OSs too. So if you want to play around with those, like do a Nostr relay or do whatever, you could just check it out. Plus, you could pay with your Bitcoin. EasyDNS.com. And if you do sign up, use our promo code CBP Media. 50% will be taken off your initial purchase. So you might as well make a massive buy at the get-go. Second sponsor is Bull Bitcoin. And it's a good time to buy, good time to sell. I don't know, whatever is your flavor. They'll be able to help you out both on chain and on Lightning. Check it out. But it's not just simply buying. It's not just simply selling. These guys are non-custodial. This is what you want in an exchange. You don't want to give any opportunity to get rugged. And Bull Bitcoin doesn't give you that opportunity. In order to facilitate a buy, you got to give them a Bitcoin address, or else you can't finalize the buy. This is what you want in an exchange. A couple of other things you could do with them. You could pay some of you might have some bills, maybe from Christmas. It's been a few months. Who knows? There might be some delinquents out there. You can use their bill service to pay those bills with your Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up quite a bit in the past year or so you could start using that as a way of paying your bills. You could also buy gift cards through Bull Bitcoin and start indirectly spending your Bitcoin in the real world. This is one of the ways you could do that in Canada. Other than that, you got to find somebody that accepts Bitcoin. Hard to find. So either way, check them out. Use our referral link below. If you do that, $21 will be added to your account once you provide the necessary information and fund your account. So with that being said, we're now done. I'm going to bring on Michael Degroot. Michael Vexel. I like that title that you have over there. How are you, Mike?
Thanks, Len. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And you know what? It's been a while since we wanted to get you on. Joey was the one that gave me a heads up. We would like to have brought you on the show. And we finally had an opening. I think we talked maybe about a month ago, a little bit less than a month ago. We finally linked up. So this has been a long time coming, I think. So it's awesome to have you on. And well, for people who want to know who you are, Mike Degroot, who are you, and why is it that we want to talk to you? Why are you a Bitcoiner? I want to hear your journey, a little bit more about you.
Yeah, that sounds great. So right now, I'm really fortunate. I'm working for Luxor full time, and then I've been a community manager at Vexel since September of last year, and then also an ambassador for the Orange Pill app. So I have a lot of toes in the ecosystem, and I'm really fortunate to be part of the Vancouver Bitcoin community where there's a lot of peer-to-peer going on. There's over 100 merchants in the greater Vancouver area that are accepting Bitcoin. Vancouver has it so you can almost any type of purchase you want, from like house renos to sushi. a boating company accept Bitcoin. So it's really thriving. The circular economy is really thriving there, and peer to peer is really thriving there as well on a non-business level too.
Vancouver seems to be a very interesting city with respect to Bitcoin. If I recall correctly, the first Bitcoin ATM in North America was established in Vancouver. Am I right?
Yes, that sounds right. I think it might have been at a Waves coffee shop.
Furthermore, in North Vancouver, aren't they using, and I could be wrong about this, but Bitcoin mining the waste heat to heat some businesses in maybe residential areas? Or am I incorrect about that?
No, that's right. So my friends Colin and Jen from Mint Green,
Colin Sullivan.
yes, exactly. Yeah, their company Mint Green has, I guess, a contract with the city of North Vancouver to do, I believe it's considered like district heating, where they're heating up. I think it's mostly water for different businesses in North Vancouver, and then I believe they also just signed to heat up the swimming pool in Kitsilano with Bitcoin miners, and it's really cool to see their company doing so well, and just that type of Bitcoin mining like starting to thrive, especially in an area that's very conscious about the environment,
Yes.
Vancouver, and like we're lucky that our mayor is quite progressive. But it's I do not envy what the hoops I imagine they have to go through to get those approvals through any type of government.
So we had Mayor Ken Sim on the show about a month and a half ago. Joey had the pleasure of chatting with him, and he, if I recall correctly, he was even accepting Bitcoin as part of his campaign donations. Like he's like very much into Bitcoin, which is amazing to see. And like you said, over in that neck of the woods where you live, it seems to be more environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious, and Bitcoin doesn't seem to jive with that type of narrative for whatever reason. So it's good to see that Bitcoiners are picking up the pieces over there and trying to build and establish a community for the likes we don't have anywhere else in Canada. I can't say that in Toronto we have a thriving Bitcoin community the same way we have in Vancouver. So kudos to you guys over there. I mean, you guys are doing really good. And I just wanted to also mention one thing. Mint Green, I also think that they use the waste heat for something to do with whiskey, right? Where they are sub producing whiskey, and it's just interesting to see what they're doing with it. There's a lot of different options. So, and your journey into Bitcoin, because you didn't touch upon it, and I love to hear everybody's like how they get exposure to Bitcoin, how they learn about it. I want to hear your Bitcoin story.
Yeah, that sounds great. So prior to what I'm doing now, I worked at a bank. I worked in wealth management, and I also co-founded a fitness studio that I was fortunate to sell before COVID happened, just lucky timing. But at the beginning of COVID, I had been looking at Bitcoin more seriously, probably for about 4 or 5 months. I saw that the price was going down at the beginning of COVID. These people on the internet were telling me that a halving was about to happen and that the price always goes up after a halving. And I thought it was a good opportunity to start buying some and educating myself more. Unfortunately, I didn't know about, say, bull Bitcoin. I only knew about Coinbase, and the most I could do at that time was they limited me to $200 a day, which I
Right.
believe was like also full KYC. And then eventually I got a higher limit, but when I was trying to buy close to the bottom, I could only buy 200 a day. And then by the time I had a higher limit, I think the price had like more than doubled.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a lot there. And the first time I had heard about Bitcoin, it was in 2011 when Black Friday happened in the online poker world. It wasn't something that I really partook in. I had like dabbled in it a tiny bit, but I saw that online poker players, after that happened, they started to be like, oh, we can play with Bitcoin, this decentralized form of money that the government can't seize from us. And I wish I would have paid more attention to it because it took me like almost 9 years after that to actually buy any myself.
You know, I was very similar to you in terms of my first purchases were all done through Coinbase. And I remember that those days where when you first made your purchases with Coinbase, you only had a limit until you built some credibility with them, and then it slowly went up to a point where you could actually buy a decent amount. So I totally remember those days, and I wasn't aware of any other exchange. It was just Coinbase, and that was it, right? And in terms of selling Bitcoin, there was no option. Not that I really ever wanted to sell, but it was always the only thing we could do is buy with it. That was it, and we just bought. It's very interesting. Like, and I'm not that long in the tooth. I've only been around since 2017, and people have been, much longer. So, like, it's interesting to hear what people were doing when they first got into Bitcoin. So, in terms of like your family and friends, have you been able to successfully orange pill any of them, or are they still pre-coiners, or maybe even worse, no coiners?
So out of my, say, closest 20, 25 friends, about half are Bitcoiners now. So it's been somewhat successful. And then for regarding family, close family, all of them except for one person are Bitcoiners. And that was one thing that took a little bit to like get through to them. But the education part is so important. And then being able to share resources, such as podcasts like this one, people like Jeff Booth,
Yes.
them learning about how like you can actually use it to buy stuff at places. It's really, I don't think buying at places is the most important thing, but for whatever reason, that seems to be something that people like to see to get them on board. And that's one thing me and some other Bitcoiners in the city I live in, because I live just outside Vancouver,
Mhm.
we are trying to get some more small businesses to accept Bitcoin, because you don't know like what the second order effects of it are. And also, like, one of the reasons I think it has been successful in Vancouver is when a couple places on a block start accepting Bitcoin, then the other merchants in that same area are like, oh, how come you're getting like extra foot traffic? Like, I notice you're accepting Bitcoin. Like, how is that working? And it's such a win-win for any merchant to accept it, that it just, the second order, third order effects end up adding up a lot.
Jeff Booth, he's local to you because I believe he's a Vancouver guy, or so he's really great to talk to and listen to. He resonates with a lot of folks, including myself. So he's a great person to
Mm-hmm.
talk to and to try to introduce and try to onboard in Bitcoin. So you have a great resource that's local. So are you from, like, do you know him well?
Decently, yeah.
Hmm.
I wish I knew him better, but no, I know him pretty good. He has talked at a few of our meetups, and he's definitely been around. And we're really lucky to have him and so many others in the space. The very first meetup I went to, Samson Mao was talking at it,
Oh.
and I knew that it was going to be awesome because he was talking. And then further down the line, I'm like, oh, I can't believe that was like the very first speaker that I ever saw in person. And I think a meetup like that probably had 100 to 150 people. So like we are getting like pretty good numbers. And then when Mayor Ken Sim talked, I think it was 6 weeks ago or so in Vancouver, at Funk Coffee House, the place was completely full. So there was about 150 people there. So we're lots of people are coming out, lots of people are learning, and it's a really good atmosphere to be in. And then one thing that's really cool that Fun Coffee House does that I like to see is that if you pay in Bitcoin, you get a 5% discount, which
Ah.
is just so smart, because obviously they're not paying like a MasterCard or Visa fee, and it just helps encourage that circular economy as well.
So how are people tracking their buys? Because here in Canada, there we have the obligation to report it to CRA every time we exchange Bitcoin for something else, even if you trade it for USDT, for instance. But anytime you trade Bitcoin for something not named Bitcoin, including a good or service, it's got to be reported in tax, or at least taxable event. So how are people over there doing it? Is it an easy way? Because I'll be perfectly honest, that's one of the things that's preventing me from really spending my Bitcoin is the headache and the administration headache of that. So I'd like to hear how people are doing it over there, if they're doing it.
Yeah. So one of the ways I do it is spend and replace. So buying and selling the same day. And then that is easy at Funk Coffee House as well. There is a Bitcoin Well ATM there. And lightning fees are so small. So that's really
Yeah.
helpful. A way someone else told me they were doing it, which I don't know if this is tax compliant or not, is that they'll maybe move $100 into a hot wallet and then like the same day they buy it. So they're saying that's their like transaction, even though like it might go up or down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I understand the viewpoint of like it's in a hot wallet. It's like technically you might not be able to get it back. Like they're counting that as like the taxable part of it. And like for me personally, it's small amounts, so it's not too hard. And I haven't done any big purchases. Probably my two bigger purchases with Bitcoin are like my Madex stuff.
Did you buy that
um,
on chain or Lightning?
I I think I bought them on Lightning, which
Holy, that's a
yeah,
large purchase on
so
Lightning.
yeah, and it worked excellent. And that would have been at Learning Bitcoin in Victoria. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was on Lightning, and I remember being surprised that it was that easy to do. Like not a significant
Yeah.
dollar amount, but not a small dollar amount. The one's a print, and then the other one is on like a computer board.
No, just when you're getting to like, 20, $30 and beyond with Lightning, depending on how the channels are balanced and how much liquidity you have, it could be a real problem. So it's good to hear that people are using it for even slight, larger dollar purchases. So there's a
Hmm.
case use for it, which is, and again, I use Lightning not that much, but it's just more for a play than anything. I'm just toying around with it. I don't use it for buying. The only time ever ended up to buy something was a long time ago. Was through the Fold app. If you
Oh
ever
yeah,
heard of that, and buy a gift card, and that was it. Other than that, I've never. But anyways, with respect to like I mean, we'll get into the other things like Luxor and so forth. But I just want to exhaust this topic because I'm very curious. Is Coinos, because they're very active over there. They have boots on the ground in terms of trying to have merchants accept Bitcoin. Have you interacted with them? Have you dealt with them in the past?
yeah. Adam and Cole are phenomenal. And that's one of the main reasons Vancouver has such a strong circular economy. Is Cole is boots on the ground. Adam is as well, but it seems like Cole is just all the time going to new businesses and getting them to sign up. And I believe one of the things he says is, I guarantee you will have more customers if you start accepting Bitcoin. And the churn rate seems extremely low. It seems like once people start accepting Bitcoin, they, as long as there's not an ownership change, they continue to accept Bitcoin. It's such a value add. And yeah, he's been able to do such a good job with it. And one day, Cole and I actually, we were like, we wanted to see how many different businesses we could go to in one day and make a Bitcoin purchase at. So between me and him, we went to 20 businesses together.
Wow.
And then we did, uh, one of us did one of us did two separately, just when we were driving in different directions. So we hit a total of 23 businesses in one day. And I mean, as far as we know, that's the most businesses anyone's been to in a day that accept Bitcoin.
You're doing good between your 25 friends and your 23 businesses that you did in that one day. I mean, I don't even have 25 friends, so like you're doing pretty damn good, by the way. So yeah,
Thanks.
you're spreading the word. I mean, I think it's a good time to just transition to Luxor because you're working over there on a sales role. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm mostly on their ASIC trading desk, which is the hardware.
Uh huh.
And I've only been there for a few weeks now, and it's been incredible. I've never seen a team work so hard, and just the helpfulness. And I feel very fortunate to be surrounded by Bitcoiners. As you know, and probably lots of your audience knows, it's very easy when I've interacted with Bitcoiners in real life or online. You can just tell that you have something in common, you're working towards a greater goal, and you really want anyone else in the space to succeed. So that's exactly how I feel working there. The atmosphere could not be better. The knowledge I'm learning from everyone has been phenomenal. People go out of their way to make sure I'm feeling comfortable and to help me, which like that's very impactful. Like when you're starting off as a new employee. And then we have other departments as well. So they do firmware, they have a mining pool, they
Mhm.
have a derivative product, and then they also do research. So the whole ecosystem, and depending on what clients want, we do the full white glove service from uh, for whatever they're looking for in all those spaces.
So which one are you most familiar with? I'm assuming it's going to be the ASIC side of things with the sales of that.
Yeah, so that's the area I'm specializing in, and then yeah, there's like opportunities to be in like the ecosystem for any of our clients, like for all of those different areas.
In terms of if there are any opportunities for people to work, are there any openings that you know in case there's somebody out there that's looking for a job where everything is filled up and there's nothing, they're not trying to hire anybody new at this time?
Great question. They did just hire a few people, so and I'm not. I think on LinkedIn there might be like one or two roles, but I would definitely recommend one. Feel free to reach out to me, and
Uh-huh.
then also keep an eye on their LinkedIn. That is what I did. Is I had been keeping an eye on their LinkedIn for a long time, probably over 2 years, and I noticed that. Yeah, I mean,
You're
and
committed.
then I saw an open role, and I was very fortunate to be able to get hired there, but also over that time period too, this is just something I tell anyone, is companies that you are interested in, I kept noticing that they were adding like more products and features, and it's because they were listening to their clients, they're building things that Bitcoiners want, and just seeing that is that's something that you want to look for like in any company, in my opinion.
Then this is a remote role for you. They don't have a bricks and mortars set up over there in the BC area, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
remote role for me. There will definitely be some travel. And going to be going to different conferences,
The
and
Canadian
then
Bitcoin Conference?
yeah, I think so. I'm hoping to go to the Canadian Bitcoin conference, the
That's late
rodeo one in
October.
Calgary, and
Oh,
then yeah,
that's in
learning Bitcoin
July.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, beginning of July or end of June, maybe actually.
Something like that. Yeah, it's near
Yeah.
Canada Day. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you?
really happening. I
Yeah,
haven't been to the Canadian Bitcoin Conference for, well, since the inception. They went to Toronto that first year, and since then I haven't gone. I think, well, this is going to be a third year, I believe. Last year was in Montreal. I couldn't go, family commitment, and this year I can't go because, well, I got travel plans nearby. So, Joey, I think will be attending. So at least we'll have representation from the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast
oh,
over
that's
there.
good.
So, if he's there, say hello to him, and I'll, just don't be a stranger. And the one in the Bitcoin rodeo, fuck, we always wanted to go, but just again, it's family commitments. It's quite a distance for us to go to Calgary. For you, it's easier.
For me, it's easy. Yeah, it's only an hour flight.
Yeah, so it's definitely hit it up because BTC Sessions is very prominent that with that
Yeah.
one. Dave Bradley, just a whole bunch of folks there. It's
Hmm.
really happening that. So yeah, so with Luxor, I mean, if you're familiar with one of these, the bid axes, this is
Yeah.
shameless plug. This is the Canadian Bitcoiners podcasted branded bid axe. But yeah, have you familiar with these guys, these bid axes?
That's awesome. Have you solo mined a block with it yet?
No, I wouldn't be here if I did. Actually, I probably would still be here if I did. No, but I'm doing what I can to secure the network. Even though it's like 1 terahash, still I'm doing my part. So these things are really cool. Like, what are your thoughts on the BitAxe?
Yeah, I really good learning tool. It's really good. I only have good things to say about it. I've only heard good things about it. And like you said, yeah, you're helping with the network. Are you on a mining pool? Or are you trying to
No, that's a solo miner. I'm going for
solo
the
mine?
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm rolling the dice on average every 10 minutes to see what happens. And there was a bidax that did build a block this past week. Again, I'm not sure if you saw the news on that. Every so often, every few months, you hear another story like that, which is great. It gives people like me hope that maybe I'll solve one too. But the reality is, nah. But I'm just doing this more for fun. Very little energy, very little heat it puts off, and the noise is minimal. Like, I'm keeping this right beside me during the podcast, and the mic isn't picking it up, which is amazing. A lot of people actually have them in their bedrooms and stuff because it's just so quiet and it doesn't impact their sleeping at all. It's not like, even an S9, they're ancient, but they're loud as crap. S19,
Yeah.
and S21s, those things are like jets. And have you been to a mining farm, by the way? Because I would love to hear anybody's like experience with them. Because man, I could just every time I see a video, they have to put the ear protection on and everything. And so I want to know if you ever been to one of those mining farms out there.
Yeah, and it's loud. Like, depending on how it's set up and everything. But yeah, when I've been to one, I used ear protection. I do recommend it. Some people have their offices close to them, and they may or may not be using ear protection. It really depends on like what machines are running, what they're running at, and all of that. But yeah, there's definitely a bit of noise, for good reason though. But yeah, it's really cool to see. And yeah, there's more and more. And what's actually really cool is so I run two monthly meetups, so one in Chilliwack, one in Langley, and I'm just like randomly talking to one of the people that came to the Chilliwack one, and he goes, "Oh yeah, like one of my friends has been heating up a greenhouse with Bitcoin miners for like 6 years or something." And like I had absolutely no idea about that. This is obviously isn't a big mine or anything, but like they have some machines in a greenhouse and they've been heating up their greenhouse for like give or take 6 years.
Huh.
And I'm curious, like how many of those stories are out there that we don't know about, because that is something we should know about.
There is an easy way to use the waste heat, and as you said, something like a greenhouse. In Canada, it's hard to grow stuff in the cold months, and it gives an opportunity to maybe grow some tomatoes or figs or whatever the heck you want to grow in the wintertime. So it's definitely it's an easy way to do it. And in terms of your meetups, do you run them periodically? Like, is it every few weeks or something? Because I want to give them a plug if you are running them.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so we have a Twitter page called Fraser Valley Bitcoiners, and then so every second Wednesday we run one in Langley at a restaurant called Poseidon, and it's a Greek restaurant and they accept Bitcoin. And then every third Wednesday in Chilliwack, we are recently doing it out of kind of more like a community center area, and we have like a projector and stuff, so we're able to make it a little more educational. So that's where I'm going to be going tonight after this.
I was just gonna ask you, like, this is the third Wednesday of the month, so you're what time is it gonna take place? So I just want to make sure that we're not gonna, because you're 3
Oh
hours
yeah,
different
no,
from us.
we're fine for time. Both of them are at 6:30.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. I don't want to interrupt your interrupt that. In terms of Luxor, anything new in the horizon that's going to be exciting us, because they have their foot in quite a few different pools. So I'm curious if they have anything that's going to be expanding with them that you know of that you could also disclose with us.
They are always listening to their clients, and there will definitely be some new stuff down the road. And yeah, no, I'm actually not sure what I'm allowed to say or
Yeah,
not
so
say.
that's
But
fine.
and then like Mining Disrupt is coming up, I think next week. So I mean, I don't think they're going to be making any announcements or anything then, but I imagine a lot of mining stuff is more and more stuff's going to be coming out in the next little while, just in general in the area.
Orange Pill app.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What's your involvement with that?
So I was one of the very first members that joined Orange Pill app when Mateo launched it at Pacific Bitcoin in 2022. And so my wife and I were on our honeymoon. We had just got married, and I had this great idea to start our honeymoon off at a Bitcoin conference.
What an interesting honeymoon. She's a keeper, by the way. If
I
she's gonna,
completely agree.
yeah.
And you went to the pleb party with me before the before the Bitcoin conference started. she had a really good time. She didn't go to the actual conference. She did her own thing in like the LA area, San Diego area, um, or Santa Monica for 2 days, and then our honeymoon really started. But yeah, so she was supportive of that, and then met Mateo there. I was one of the first people that signed up for Orange Pill app. At the beginning, there was uh, relatively early on, they made it so you could connect a Lightning wallet to it. So I started messaging people on their app, being like, "Hey, if you don't know how to do a Lightning, how to add a Lightning wallet to the app, like I can help you with that." I also made a guide for it, and then Joe Nakamoto or Joe Hall, he wrote an article about it at Coin Telegraph because that's where he was back then. And then I think I connected with about 1,000 people, helped lots of people set up Lightning wallets.
Ooh.
I think I zapped like 700 people, just small amounts of Lightning, which hopefully I can tell my grandkids in the future, like how much I regret doing that, in, but yeah. And then, so I've always just kind of had a relationship with them. It's been really helpful for organizing meetups, meeting new Bitcoiners, and they've added like they keep adding more and more stuff to it because they're adding events. They've added merchants. They now have the Lightning wallet built into it, and one of one of the best ways for me to say it works is someone who I met on the app. His name's Shane. We're good friends now, and I even helped him move. So obviously, we must be pretty good friends if I help do that, right?
Is he local to you?
He's local to me, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't pick up on going a plane to fly out somewhere to help out
No,
maybe
nothing like that.
So the Orange Pill app, for people who aren't aware, that's for helping onboard merchants and also trying to expand people's horizon to promoting Bitcoin events, stuff like that. Is that correct? What the Orange and
Yeah,
available on both Android and Apple, right?
yeah. Connecting Bitcoiners. There is a paywall on it, so you don't get any like spam or scammers or anything. So yeah, so that's really helpful, and yeah, it's really popular. It's really good for traveling as well, especially if you're going to a new city. I feel like I could pretty much travel anywhere in the world and be able to meet up with Bitcoiners. Some people I've met on there have been like, "Hey, if you're ever here, you can like stay at my house and stuff." Like, very friendly, and because of the paywall, it feels a lot safer.
You do a lot of traveling. I mean, you've been to California, obviously, or and have you done a lot? Because I'm curious to see, like, every time you go somewhere, there are a lot of merchants available that do accept Bitcoin.
I don't do a ton of traveling. I do tend to stay in BC a lot just because we're so lucky with a lot of the places. But yeah, when I have gone to different areas, not usually very many merchants. I have noticed there is people on Orange Pill app. If like when I've been in different places in California and then even in Mexico. But yeah, generally speaking, not that many merchants. They don't have a ton of merchants on the app, but I think that is an area of growth. And then that's one of the things too, like with Vexel, is that with Vexel as well, it's such a good off ramp for anyone, but like merchants too. Um, and yeah, it's the peer to peer, getting Bitcoiners to meet in real life. Like those are just such good things.
So Vexel, for people that are listening, and it's VEXL. That's how you spell it. So, and you're the community manager for Canada for
Yes.
that. So, tell us how it is that you came across dealing with them, and I want to hear more about Vexel.
Yeah. So was really cool. I think they posted on Bitcoiner jobs. So when I first heard about
Mhm.
them, and then I realized they were part of Satoshi Labs, which like is crazy. Like Satoshi Labs has been around forever. They did Trezor in, hope I get this right, 2013. Could be 2014, but I'm pretty sure it was 2013. And yeah, they're such a leader in different areas in the space. And it was interesting because they're based out of Czech Republic, and they were looking for community managers in other countries. And when I saw that, I was interested in it right away. The main goal of the app is to connect you with another Bitcoiner and then get you connecting in real life, to be able to do peer-to-peer transactions just like Satoshi envisioned. And for me personally, I've been able to do that multiple times now. And the way they keep it safe is, so when you download the Vexel app, you can add your contacts to the app. And the only way you can connect with someone is if they're already a contact on your phone, or if they are a contact of a contact. So like a second degree contact, like 5 shades of Kevin Bacon. It's like two
Right.
shades of Bitcoiners, I guess. And so what's really good is, so as soon as I downloaded it, I saw a couple ads on there, and then one of the people, we had one mutual contact, and it happened to be Grafton, who works at Vexel in Czech Republic. And so I quickly messaged Grafton. I'm like, hey, do you know this person? He goes, yep, I met this person at a conference. They met, I believe, at Bitcoin Prague. Could have been a different one of the European ones, but I think it was Bitcoin Prague. And then that person came back to Vancouver and was looking to use the app. And then me and him were able to do a peer-to-peer transaction, and it like works that easy. It's obviously still growing. So depending on the area and stuff, there's going to be more or less people. Depends on who you have in your phone as well. That's one of the things with going to like so many different Bitcoin events. Sometimes you don't always get like someone's actual phone number, but that's also what makes it so secure, because anyone's phone number who I do have in my phone is a trusted contact. It's not like I have random people's phone numbers in my phone.
You haven't looked at my phone book here. It's full of who knows what's on it. So this is, but then it's a KYC type product, because you're giving up your contact information, at least something, when you are not only signing up, but when you're trying to engage into an exchange with somebody, a peer-to-peer exchange, because you have to be trusted in one way, shape, or form. So there is some KYC to this process, correct?
Kind of. So what you're saying, yes, that is correct. And like it does go through the app store. So like on Apple, it's through, you have to have like test flight, and then you can download it because it's technically in beta on Apple. On Android, it works through the Google store or through the other one as well. I mean, you are downloading an app, so there's that
Yeah.
KYC aspect of it. And then phone numbers are uploaded, but it's only phone numbers. And then so
Okay.
the app connects. So when you connect with someone else, the app doesn't actually know what you do not on the app. So it doesn't know if you're making a transaction. So the actual transaction, there's no KYC, and it's peer to peer, which is why it works so good as an on ramp or an off ramp. That's one of the things too. I have personally been seeing this a bit more lately. I'm not sure if you have or not, but some people I know that who have only been into Bitcoin for like 2 years, maybe a little bit longer, 100% of the Bitcoin they have is non KYC. They've never even gone to an exchange, because there's different options. And then there's also just more education about that out there now. And like what me and you were talking about before, with like when I first bought, I didn't even know of anything besides
Coinbase was the only thing I knew for a very long time. And
Coinbase.
now I am starting to learn, because there's BIS, there's HODL HODLers, and Vexel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different options for peer-to-peer. So when it comes to Vexel, how does it work? Do you, like, say you want to buy some Bitcoin, and then you say, I have, I'm guessing, cash, or is it e-transfer, or is it your choice? Like, how does it work? Did you put a limit? I want to say buy $500 within this geographical area. Like, what's the process?
Yep. You can make an ad saying you're buying or selling. That's like the most basic thing. So you make an ad, and then you say, well, just for instance, I want to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. And then you can say if you want to pay a premium, you want to pay a discount. Everything I've done has always just been the spot rate, so market
Mhm.
rate. And that's one thing I also like too, like no spread, which is awesome. And then you say how you want to pay. Just from what I've done personally, it's always been in cash. And like, we're not talking like insane dollar values or anything, right? And so, yeah, so you put those in, and then you can also, there's like a little bit more information you can put in as well. And then, so after you've done that, and someone either sees your ad or you see someone else's ad, you can connect, and then you can message each other on there, which is encrypted. And then you can choose to share your phone number with the other person or not. It's up to you. So I have shared my phone number with someone through the app, and I also have not shared my phone number with someone through the app. That is a choice that is available on the app. And then one of the things too, all the information stored on 4 different servers. So the servers also don't talk to each other. So there's more security and privacy there as well. Like that's purposely been designed by the Vexel team. And one of the things that I saw and that people were excited about was someone post. I think they'd caught a squid and they were selling frozen squid.
I
And
was
so,
just gonna ask you that if there's a classified section to this.
yeah, so there's also a classified section to it. Um, and it's a really good opportunity for merchants, for anyone who's accepting Bitcoin. You can essentially like advertise your service on there because there kind of is like a goods and services section as well as just buying and selling. Um, like not that different from like Craigslist, obviously, like that type of idea for like goods and services.
So is that where you're getting the majority or maybe all of your Bitcoin are using Vexel? Because the reason I'm asking is the exchange right now, where a lot of people are going to Coinbase, Bull Bitcoin, wherever, they operate and they're fine, but there could be a point in time where governments are going to be adversarial towards these, and maybe they could potentially want to try to shut them down. So the on ramps through that method might be difficult, if not impossible. And so the only method available would be a peer-to-peer type exchange. So is everything that you're doing, all your buys and maybe sells, all done through Vexel right now?
Yes, and I'll definitely talk about that a little bit more too. So I'm actually going to be getting paid 100% by Luxor in Bitcoin, and I'm going to really put it to the test. So I mean, we might have to do an update in the future, but
And this is
I'm
six
like
figures.
pretty.
Like you must be getting paid very well. So you're really going to see how well it works through the Luxor.
No, but yeah, no, I'm gonna start putting it to the test as well, and just really seeing. I have a lot of faith in just what I'll be able to do, like through Vexel and through the Bitcoin community in BC, like especially Vancouver. And I mean, I'm still gonna try and save as much of it as I can, of course, right?
Sure.
But especially with prices right now. But obviously, I have bills and everything, and yeah. So for me personally, I have a tiny bit of KYC Bitcoin that I have just slowly been using for expenses. And then all of my new buys are going peer to peer, usually through Vexel. And then, yeah, non KYC, separate wallet for it. And I think it seems like more and more people, that's what they're trying to do, because I know I'm not the only one doing that. And like you mentioned with like the Coinbase and all that, there's obviously less risk with companies like that when you take it off the exchange. And I mean, that's just such another good reason with Bull Bitcoin, right? But like for instance, Coinbase, fully KYC'd, have all my info, they get audited. They obviously have to give that up to whoever's auditing them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just like, I personally don't like people knowing or like being able to know just like small transactions I'm doing. And me and my one friend too, James, who helps run the Chilliwack Bitcoin meetup, we've also just been using like cash more, like on our day to day life, which like isn't always the most convenient. I don't get my credit card rewards, but I think the privacy and the benefit to businesses not paying extra fees
Mm-hmm.
like is a good thing. And that's one thing like I personally just always did even before I was a Bitcoiner was like I'd always try and tip in cash like whenever I was somewhere just because when I delivered pizza in high school, the tips I got in cash were always the best because you got them right away. They weren't added to your paycheck. Like there's lots of benefits to doing stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. Good for you for working in those lines because a lot of people don't carry cash these days. They rely 100% on digital payments for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And good for you for going all in where you're going to get paid in Bitcoin and using Vexel to process everything. And just want to plug this, and it sounds like you may be already using it. The Bull Bitcoin, their bill service where you could pay your bills with Bitcoin. You've been using that, I'm assuming,
No,
or you?
I haven't used it, and that was actually something just when I was listening to your podcast the other day, and you had the ad read at the beginning, and I'm like, you know what, I might need to use this now that I am going all in, and yeah, so I might be using that feature of Bull Bitcoin, and I have used Bull Bitcoin in the past, and it is too bad you can't buy it at the post office anymore.
I know it's not quite a year. I think it was May last year. It went out of it sucks that it went out of. Yeah, it's just too bad. But
Yeah.
they also you could also get gift cards from there with your Bitcoin, so that's another way to help. But not just them. There's another, and I forget the name of it. BTC Sessions talks about it at the beginning of his show. It's another you could buy gift cards with your Bitcoin. So for somebody like you that's going balls deep into that, it's something you should look at as another option as well, because that way you don't have to go to fiat and then use a fiat. This way you just kind of stay within, kind of a Bitcoin way of doing things. But either way, you must be running a node. I want to just ask you this question. I'm going to be asking everybody this question going forward. Do you run a node? If so, which one? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, so I feel terrible. I'm not
Oh,
running a node. No, I
no.
know. And I started setting up a Lightning node, which I know that's not a normal node, but I started setting up a Lightning node on my old MacBook. And when I was setting it up, my MacBook died. And then after it died, we realized it was from 2010. So, I mean, I did get a good like 13 years out of it. But my MacBook died. And then since then, I have only been buying Bitcoin. But yeah, setting up a node is happening next month.
Awesome.
I'll send you a message on the side or something. Yeah. But yeah, no, I should be and I will be. And it's funny, we were talking about that at the last Bitcoin meetup like a week ago in Langley. And me and another person we are for sure setting them up in the next month.
So I have just 3 feet less. 2 feet from me is a 2010 laptop that's running a full node.
Oh.
So it's doing its thing. So yeah, maybe this is on its last legs. I don't know, but it works, and I'm happy because I can verify and broadcast my transactions in house. And people give Joey a little bit of shit because he isn't. For people listening and watching, this has been rectified. I've taken care of this today. We'll be talking about this on Monday. He is now part of the node team, so you don't give him any shit. That's been fixed thanks to yours truly. But for you, Mike, are you going to be then running another, I guess, full node and then a Lightning node on top of it? Is that your intention with
that is the plan? And my one friend Leo, he's been doing Bitcoin meetups forever. He, I believe, works at Lightning Labs, and so I'm part of like a Pacific Northwest like Lightning node group. Even I started doing it with like I think it was about 12 other people, and I gave them 210,000 sats that I don't get back until my Lightning node is up. So I definitely plan on getting that back up as well, or getting it up in the first place.
Have you decided which rendition you're going to run? Is it going to be Core Lightning or LND, or I mean, it's just, or you have no idea as of yet?
LND, I think.
Okay, yeah. So beautiful. Like that's the only one I ran. So I have no experience running Core Lightning. So I run Bitcoin Core as my node software. But yeah, so that's awesome. You're going to be doing this. We got more people start doing their own nodes and being their own bank. For somebody like you, especially that's going to be transacting almost entirely in Bitcoin, at least receiving all your income in Bitcoin, it makes total sense to run a node, because then you're relying on nobody. Look at that. Like, there's no bank you have to go to. Like, it's essentially a truly decentralized world in where you live, at least financially, which is fucking awesome. Like, I'm so like happy to hear that you're doing this. This is amazing. And yeah, I mean, I just want to hear, like, in terms of peer-to-peer, I mean, any interesting stories out there that when you went to go buy stuff? I mean, this is all like you're meeting the person when you're making the exchange, right? It's with cash. You're not doing like an e-transfer. Is that correct?
Right. And there is the option to be able to do e-transfer. And some of the people who I've done it with, like I would feel comfortable doing an e-transfer with them because I know them now. But for the first time, meeting in person, public space seems to me like the best option, and that's what I have done personally. The best thing about it is the person who I originally met, and he had met Grafton in Europe. He's now come to more of the meetups, so he's also now more involved in the community too. And it started with just me and him meeting up, and then me educating him on like all the stuff that is going on in Vancouver. And it's really good to see, again, like there's all these second order effects that happen because of stuff we're doing. And one of the things, like with supporting the circular economy, having the privacy, is that's the future that I'm looking to build. That's the future I want. And like, there's only one way to get there, and we have to get there by doing. And I understand sometimes why people don't want to spend their Bitcoin, especially with like tax implications and all that. The future I see, though, has a circular economy in it, so I'm going to continue to support that, and that's what I want to see in the future. So I like the things we're doing do make an impact, and sometimes it sucks asking like 100 different places if they want to accept Bitcoin, or talking to your friends about it and getting a lot of no's. Time and education like go a long way. Especially like even in my journey, like the first year was successful. Like me and two friends all kind of bought Bitcoin at the same time, and like no one else wanted to right away. And then, over the next 4 years, like half of our friend group owns Bitcoin, and way more family. Like, but it takes time. You hear a lot of no's. It's really nice being able to talk to other Bitcoiners because they're going through a lot of the same stuff. They're looking for like similar stuff to you are. They're building a similar future to you are. And Vexel, Orange Pill app definitely help with both of those things. Listening to podcasts like this one, the person you had on recently, like talking about nuclear energy and all of that, like that was incredible.
Ryan McLeod. He's great. Yeah. Another thing about Bitcoin, like, it's going to be able to maybe onboard people is like, I don't know about you, but I mean, we're all driving, I hope, Lambos, right? And people look at us, how did you get it? Well, I'm still driving my O2 Jetta that's rusting away. Maybe people are looking, what the fuck are you driving that for? But there's a reason why I drive it, because I can still stack more corn. Mm-hmm. With respect to, you said something early in the show, you said the word Zap. Now, when you mentioned that, was it in respect to Nostr? Do you use Nostr or no?
So I do use Nostr. I feel like all small Lightning transactions are kind of zaps.
Okay.
Yeah, and Nostr too. Like there's a lot of positives there. I wish it was being used more. I also that is a feature I like because of the decentralization of it, being able to own your people you're connected to. That's really powerful. But yeah, I should also be using it more. I do use it sparingly, but it is, I mean, that is something I would like to see more of as well.
Agreed. And see, and I'm guilty of that as well. I should be using it more. And I spoke to a gentleman, he goes by the moniker UTXO, and he created a relay that is kind of like an algorithmic relay like that you have in Twitter, where it provides you information not based on chronological order, but on the interest in which you're selecting. So I find that to be really fascinating. I still have to set it up, so I'm like that. So when if you miss a day or two in Nostr, you feel like you're so far behind. But if you use that, at least you're able to catch up easily. Just like if you don't go on Twitter for a few hours or a few days, like it's just, so Nostr is developing. It's very rough around the edges, like Bitcoin, but it's maturing. And as it matures, it gets better. It just the UX gets vastly improved. So it's great to hear. But you know what? We're approaching an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time because I know you have your meetup in a little while. So, Mike, I just want to hand a baton to you. Where can people find you in case they want to reach out to you, especially if they want to talk more about Luxor or Vexel?
Yeah. Best way to find me is on Twitter _ Mike Degroot. And anyone who is interested in any of those things, especially if you're gonna like say download Vexel and you need another contact, message me. Obviously, if you're looking for any mining equipment, pool, derivative product or anything like that, message me as well. And then I think I have a referral code for Orange Pill app there too. So yeah, all of those things. Len, one thing quick too before I go, do you mind explaining the privacy factor of like running your own node when you can like go through your transactions through it? Because I think that'd be good for some of the listeners.
Well, so one thing you could do with your node, you could verify your transaction. So if you are receiving Bitcoin, you could punch in the transaction ID, you could punch in the address on your own node, and you could verify that it has been received there, rather than providing that information to a third-party node, a node that you don't know. And that information could potentially be stored and associated with your IP. So there could be a potential way for people to associate an IP with a particular search on Bitcoin. You wouldn't be searching just random stuff. Mostly you'd be searching for your own. So that's one thing that you just don't want to do. You want to do these searches on your own node and prevent that information from being leaked outside. The second thing is when you broadcast a transaction, the way Bitcoin is done, is you have to digitally sign a transaction. I'm going to be pretty brief on this one, very high level. And when it's digitally signed, it's then broadcast to the Bitcoin network. And the mechanism which is done is through a node. And if you use your node to broadcast your transaction, the transaction where you're moving Bitcoin to somewhere else, well, you're not asking somebody else to do it. You're doing it in-house. And if your Bitcoin node is running behind something like a VPN and or Tor, which gives you some additional privacy, it's then virtually impossible to tie that transaction to you. It's just a transaction in a network. So it makes it easier and much more private to not only verify transactions, as I mentioned, but the broadcast transactions. So it just makes total sense to run your own node. If you're not running it, you're relying on somebody else. You're trusting somebody else to provide this information. And in Bitcoin, we verify, we don't trust. And when you have your own node, that's the only way to verify.
Yeah, thanks. I knew your explanation of it would be better than mine.
If you want to add to it, I'm fine with it. I mean,
No.
there may be holes in it. I'm good with that, but
no, that sounded perfect.
Awesome, Mike. I appreciate you coming on. I did add in the show notes your address, your Twitter or X address, so if people want to go to your account, it's there. And you did mention there's a referral code. What does that get you? If they use that?
So I believe I know for sure they get 1,000 sats when they sign up. I mean, and if anyone uses my code and messages me on there, I'll also send them some sats too, and make sure that Lightning wallet that's attached to it is working. And
there
then,
you go, free sats.
And then for Vexel too, is if you do need more contacts, they can add me as a contact. Actually, so an ask for any Canadian Bitcoiners is we are trying to set up someone in any of the major cities or any cities that do have a Bitcoin meetup, essentially as like a Vexel volunteer ambassador. You can definitely add it to your resume. I can be a reference for anything like that, just to be able to grow the peer-to-peer community across Canada because of the two stages of connections. It would be really good for me to be linked with people across Canada. So anyone that has mine, or if you're one of the people across Canada who has mine, we'll all be able to do peer-to-peer transactions together.
You'll be like the Godfather with all the. I'm kidding. Mike, it's been a pleasure for you to come on the show. I appreciate you taking the time. We've been at this for an hour, which is just what I wanted to do.
Perfect.
And I want to make sure that you're not going to miss your meetup in a little bit. So with that, Mike, thanks for coming on, and let me know if you want to come back on again. So that has been great.
I'd love to. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Len.
Take care.
Take care.